So, I've been posting like a fair bit of Dying Light 2 stuff on the channel, but like I want to make an actual serious video, and I'm not fucking around this time. Like I was in that video where I did I watched the Clash of Clans video and blah blah blah. This is a serious video. I got some thoughts on this game, and I just have to get them out somewhere, because the game is just such a fucking disappointment, and the only way I can actually find people who are speaking the truth are if I just like try and really seek it out. Like, if you look on Steam, you'll just see endless positive reviews, but if you look at the Discord, like, everyone is commenting on it every 5 seconds. And remember, if you're joining the Discord, that means you care more than the normal player. Like, I really fucking love Dying Light 1. It is one of the best games that's ever been made, man. It's just perfect. It gives you that parkour feeling like that you got back when you played Mirror's Edge 1. Like, it was just perfect. And all they had to do was just make a few small changes to it, make it so that, you know, it's not as overpowered with ranged weapons and all that stuff, and things like that. Like, maybe spruce the story up a bit. But the problem is with this is that they just tried too hard to push the series when it wasn't ready. Like, the massive branching choices and whatever, it wasn't necessary. Like, this, by the way, this is going to be a really destructured video. Like, I literally will just be talking about anything that comes to mind. I do have notes of things in the story from the things that I remember, and like just general plot holes and stuff. So it's going to be destructured, but the thing with this game is that the story, I think it would have worked better if there were no choices, because Aiden is very clearly meant to behave a certain way. Like, he doesn't have a bad outlook on life. You know, he suffers from PTSD, but he's not depressed. You know, this all things like, even though he's infected with a zombie virus that's basically going to kill him one day and turn him into a monster, he doesn't seem to be that upset about it. Like, this is just something people are okay with, and they don't seem to get upset about it because you can go near UV. But, like, if that was me, even if, it was in a world where everyone gets bit every now and again, and it's just a normal part of life, and then you wear the biomarker, whatever, like, fair enough, but not every NPC wears a biomarker. And so, like, there are people out there who have not been bitten. And so, imagine your life goes from, you can live a normal life in a post-apocalyptic world, and, you know, you don't need to sit near UV. And then it goes from that to, you have to be back into UV light within 5 minutes, or you will literally lose your mind and become a monster. Like, 5 minutes. It takes me longer to make a cup of tea than it does for you to turn into a zombie before you get inhibitors. Like, that's crazy. And Aiden gets bit after, like, multiple years of not being infected, because he's not wearing a biomarker. He's not wearing a biomarker, so that means he's not, you know, I don't think he's been bitten by that point. And, like, it just doesn't make any sense. And, like, they only needed to change a few amount of things. I think this is the thing that doesn't make any sense. Like, having this big branching story with all these choices, like, the story would have worked a lot better if it was just a story where Aiden bridges the gaps between the free folk and the peacekeepers, and basically works to secure an alliance between them both, so that you can take down the renegades, basically make the renegades villains. Because the renegades in this game, they're not actually that villainous. Because what ends up happening is the faction splits in two off camera, or outside the player's view. It splits between the Butcher, which is like this colonel guy, and Waltz, which is like the actual real enemy of the game, who you're trying to hunt throughout the whole thing. And it's like, there's just these bandits. Like, if you think about it, it literally is just you trying to defeat all the bandits in Skyrim. That's literally what this game is about, for the most part. You are trying to defeat the bandits, and you're trying to find the big bad, which is Waltz. Like, you didn't need to have choices. Like, if you want me to be friends with Hakon, don't give me the choice. Just make Aiden do it. Like, if you're really aiming to tell a specific story, giving players a choice in it is usually the worst thing you can do. Because I could just snap halfway through the game and decide, you know what? I've realised I don't care for any of these fucking characters. And so I just ended up killing every single character that I could. And I kind of, I do feel bad because someone put effort into writing those characters. Like, I may not have liked them, because I don't like it when characters are just wholesome, good characters. I like it when someone's kind of a bit evil sometimes, because I'm a bit evil sometimes. Just look at any of the videos of me just going around killing civilians and stuff. It's funny. But, like, they expect me to sympathise with these characters that just have no depth to them. Like, they are just a good person. And that's not realistic. I don't think people are good. I think people should have some negative aspects to them, because that's what makes people human. Dying Light, stay human. More like Dying Light, you aren't human. Am I right? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Basically, if I was going to redo this game for the story, I would remove any choices the player has, because that worked completely fine in Dying Light 1. If you remember in Dying Light 1, nothing happens that doesn't make sense. So Crane goes into like this area where he has no ties to, and like he's just a guy on a job, and like he has to lie to people and destroy medicine so that he can perform his duties as a GRE agent. And it comes out in the end that obviously he has a character arc, and that means that because the player doesn't have any choices, this arc can be realised through an actual writer telling the story as opposed to the player. And so the writer tells this good story about, I'm not going to lie and say it's amazing. It's just alright. It's an alright story about Crane basically becoming a survivor and stopping being, with the government. And who are basically going to kill everyone. And I don't think the events of that story were lessened because you couldn't choose what happened. Like, everything that happened in that story, everything that Crane does in that story makes sense. It's not like, it doesn't make any sense for him to do that because I like him and he seems like a good guy. Like, it's what I mean. Good people do bad things sometimes, and that's what makes them interesting. That's what makes anyone interesting, is they can be a good person, but sometimes they'll do bad things. And, like, that's interesting. That's good writing. But, like, Aiden is clearly supposed to be, like, a good character. But throwing in these choices, like, I killed Hakon on my first playthrough, just because I wanted to, just because I thought, well, if you're going to give me the choice, I'll kill this person, because that's amusing to me. Like, make me care by making me not have a choice to do something. Like, I'm getting sidetracked. I've already made my point. I'm gonna stop on the story there, because you understand. Basically, remove the choices from the story, rewrite it, and make it so the story just follows something a bit simpler, where it's just Aiden is trying to form some alliances to defeat the renegades. Because all it comes down to is you choose your faction, you can betray them and go to the other faction, and you can do that a couple times, and then at the end you get the choice of siding with factions that you have already chosen, or siding with the renegades and just being like, okay, I will not bash your brains in here for whatever reason. It's all crap. And I'll go into some weird like plot questions that I have later. Anyway, going on to the gameplay, like, if we're going to talk about the gameplay of this game, it is similar to Dying Light 1, but the problem is that it's very floaty. Like, I didn't really agree with people saying that until, like, I started another playthrough, and then I got bored, because I realised, like, how floaty the game is. It just feels wrong, because they take away so many abilities from you. And, like, having something that floaty, like, it works when you've got all the pieces and stuff. It helps you get around the city, but, like, it's just so, it is very floaty. And I think the combat as well suffers from this, the parkour and combat suffer from this completely unnecessary redesign. Like, they've fundamentally changed the way these systems work, even though there wasn't any issues. The only issues people had with the combat was that you couldn't block. And so what they decided to do with that is they wanted to add in this entirely new system where you can do parkour moves and whatever. And it doesn't make any sense. Why would you change it? No one was asking for this. Like, no one was asking for parkour moves and whatever. They were just asking for things to be a bit smoother and, like, refined. And instead of refining it, you threw away what was good and you redid it. And I just don't understand why they do that, because no one said that the combat and fighting the zombies in Dying Light 1 was bad. It was one of the better parts of the game. Like, this is why Dying Light 1 was so good, because they put a lot of effort into getting something and getting really close to perfection, but not getting there entirely. And that's why we wanted a second Dying Light, because we wanted to see how they could perfect it. But, like, they didn't. They just completely fucking failed. They failed big time. And, like, you look at the open world of this game, and they've somehow managed to make that worse too. Like, the first area of Dying Light 1 is like this kind of slum area where there's not a whole lot of opportunities for parkour. It's like it's like very basic parkour, and it's good because it helps you get used to the basics. And then you move into the second area, and it's like mind-blowing, because you're actually in like this massively urban area, and you like get to do some amazing moves and stuff, and you're just having a great time. And you unlock the grappling hook, and it's like really, really, really bloody good. And then you play this game, and the first area you start out in is very similar to the second area of Dying Light 1. And the problem with that is that you're like, okay, well, how can they raise the stakes? And so they end up making a giant open world that's like a city with skyscrapers. But the problem with this is that it takes too long to get to the top of these structures, and you don't actually parkour from building to building. Like, if you think about Assassin's Creed, right? You get up to the towers and whatever, and you do your search, and that's it. Like, the actual things aren't like massive buildings in the way of each other to stop you from getting around. All the buildings in Assassin's Creed serve as a path, as just a tool. But in this game, like, the streets are way too big, and they have to add in these ridiculous ways of getting around. Like, they just made the game too big. Like, if the map was about the same size, but no building went higher than like 5 stories tall, apart from maybe the biggest building in the game, I think nobody would have a problem with that. And like, they were like, okay, well, people like the radio towers and climbing up those, and those are fun, and they were fun in Dying Light 1, and they make them into a fully fledged activity, and I don't mind that. But these the windmills and the radio towers, like, that should have been like the moments where you get a big view on the city, but it just ends up that you climb up this massive tower, and like, it's just the buildings are just too tall. I'm just doing a quick interjection after recording that, just to say that all the areas like this, the metro stations, have a underground power station. We have to turn on the generators, and it is the exact same room every time. When you get an outpost, it's the exact same thing every time. So they basically copy and pasted these buildings and areas, so it's very low effort, very disappointing. It stops being a parkour game, and it just starts being a flying game. Like, you just get to the top and you use your paraglider, you fly over all the buildings, you don't do any parkour, you just fly everywhere, and they've got these air ducts everywhere, so you don't even need to use the parkour. And the worst thing is, you just get so much XP from flying. You get like 100 XP for like every flight you do. Meanwhile, doing like a line of parkour is like 20. It just doesn't make any sense. And like, in Dying Light 1, like, I'm gonna come back to the combat on the parkour. It's like, it didn't take that long to level up your skills. In this game, it takes ages. Like, you will not have maxed out your skills by the end of the game. You will still be going with your skills, because it just goes on for way too long. And they've decided to make it so you need these inhibitors to increase your health and your stamina, but the problem with that is that you just end up like, it's just pointless, because I tried to do a combat heavy character, right? That big fucking mistake, because the combat in this is shit. But the way they should have done it, if you're gonna have inhibitors, is like have me upgrading my health, also increase my fighting stamina, and then have like just parkour increase like your movement speed or your jump height or something to actually do with parkour. Instead, it ends up where an actual tanky character can't tank anything and can't even defend themselves. And they try to add, and I'm gonna diverge again in the gameplay. Sorry, it's like I said, it's gonna be destructured. It's just gonna be what comes into my head at the time. And it's like, you have these like play styles. They have these play styles with this gear. That's another thing. There's gear in this game for some reason, and like, you do all these like. You do, what am I trying to say? Yeah, you've got all this gear, and the gear has like a specific play style that it'll enhance. But the problem is that there's no point in messing with any of that, because you already like, it's literally just number boosts, and it's like, you could have just gotten rid of this. It doesn't need to be in the game. Just make you get stronger over the course of the game. Or just have like as you use something more, you get better with it, or something, just balance it better. because I just played as a tank the whole game, and I didn't actually end up being able to tank anything at all. I actually ended up taking loads of damage all the time, even though I was a tank with some amazing tank gear and a massive health pool. It didn't do anything for me because the combat sucked. And like, the ranged in this game is probably still overpowered. I didn't end up using the ranged because I knew it would ruin the game for me, but I reckon it's still overpowered like it was in the first game. And I don't understand why they're adding these playstyle things. It's stupid. So many stupid choices. We didn't need a gear system. We didn't need a class system. We don't need any of that. We just needed some minor improvements to keep the game simple and just improve the story a little bit. Because you are already good. You already had a good formula. And so, like, now, I'm just going to go over some notes that I have from the story. So, like, just to start off with, like, Hakon, like, you know he's going to betray you. You absolutely have to know straight away he's going to betray you. Because he's, like, immediately helpful and he's immediately your friend. And it's like so obvious that Hakon is gonna like betray you. I knew it straight away, so I just started telling the guy, because there's a point where he's like, "Hey, I want to get out of the city, man. Will you be able to help me? Because you're a pilgrim." And I said, "No, well, or we'll see." You don't even get to say no. I'll say, "Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see." And I just don't understand, like, how did they think this would go? Like, why have a game about your choices matter? And I can't even say no to someone. Like, this guy, I don't want to be his friend. I don't like him. And you're, like, forced to befriend these people. It's a massive pain in the ass. So, yeah, let me go through these a lot quicker than that, because we'll be here all day. Hakon hides the fact he assassinated the leader of the Peacekeepers in Old Villador from you, even though you're supposed to be friends. All the leaders in this game are secretly evil for no reason at all. I don't know why, but every single leader has this plan to just betray you, and I don't even understand why. Like, apart from Frank, and it's like, it's obvious you're supposed to go with the free folk. I don't even know why they bothered adding in the Peacekeepers, because it's obvious they don't want anyone to go with the Peacekeepers. And, like, essentially all the characters in this game are unlikable. Even Lawan, which is, like, a character played by Rosario Dawson, and the character looks exactly like Rosario Dawson. And I think Rosario Dawson, she's a good actress. I like her. I've seen her in Luke Cage and in the Book of Boba Fett, and I didn't finish The Mandalorian, but I think she's in there too. She's a good actress, but she is not a good voice actress. Like, we should not be getting celebrities in to do roles, because it's very distracting, because the whole time you're thinking, that's Rosario Dawson. That's not a character. That's Rosario Dawson. What's she doing in this game? It's very distracting. There's one I've got here where I wrote, Sophie and Barney are just a bad rip-off of Die Antwoord. That's funny. I'll put up a picture so you can see what I mean. This is a good one. They gave away the events of the last quest in the game at E3. I'll put some footage in now, and you'll see what I mean. Basically, there's some footage basically showing off how they told us that their story would work, and it includes detailed footage of the breakdown of the last mission in the game, presented as if that's just a normal thing you do. But obviously, they've used the last quest in the game, so they spoiled basically the last thing you do in the game. Apart from the part where you go and fight Waltz, which is shit, by the way. The final boss fight is shit. Um, oh yeah, just a section here I wrote about the free folk are going to be the canonical choice for all future content. It's very clear. I wrote the renegades do nothing, and that's true. The renegades are essentially just Skyrim bandits, and they try to put them as like this force, but I have no idea how these people do anything. Like, part of the plot is that they're actually enhanced super soldiers, because when you kill them you can see like black veins going up their neck, kind of like the Venom symbiote, and it's because they've received a more unstable version of the enhancements you had as a child when Aiden was a child in a facility. But nothing ever comes of that. Like, these people are literally walking around with like genetic enhancements, or just chemical enhancements, sorry. And it's like super soldier serum. And nothing comes of that. Nothing. It goes nowhere. I got another one here. Powering up New Villador is completely dropped, and the moment where it all lights up is just a massive loose end. So when you get to the actual like big skyscraper part of the map, there's a moment where you get up there and all the lights turn on, and it's like actually pretty cool. But like, you never do that again. Like, the lights come on for like a minute and then they turn back off because Waltz is turning the lights on and off. I guess like Nosferatu from that SpongeBob episode. Nosferatu! And it's just completely dropped. Like, you go around and you get all these electrical substations, but not once do you ever see the lights come back on. Like, it would have been so cool if, you know, actually activating all these things paid off in a grand way of making the entire map like light up again. That would have made the game so cool, like so unbelievably awesome. But they just do nothing with it. Like, it's clear, like, you see this and you're like, okay, we got to get the power back on to you know, get New Villador back into a place for human beings. And even Lawan places a lot of like importance on this task. Like, she gets extremely emotional about seeing all of it light up because of how dark the city is, and you're like, oh, I guess this is like her character arc is tied to the light of the city. But it's not. It just doesn't go anywhere. It's just completely dropped. Another one is, there's a point where you can choose to leave Hakon to die, because he basically tells you that he's been feeding info to Waltz on you, and he's basically been setting you up to be captured by Waltz. And he fucked you over as well by this point. Basically, he traps you in a room and he gets you to give him the key so you can get out, but he runs off with a key, and someone else comes in and saves you from the peacekeepers. And they literally have never been introduced to you before, and they're actually a good character. I thought this was going to be like a major character, but they're killed 5 minutes later, and it's like, oh, one character I actually liked is killed immediately. But yeah, Hakon, you basically walk out onto a balcony with him, and as you're walking out, he gets shot in the shoulder with a crossbow bolt. And at that point, you get the choice of like helping him or leaving him to die. And like, it turns out later, Lawan is the person who shot him because they were in a relationship and he broke up with her, and she's basically got a bone. She wants to kill him over that. And it doesn't make any sense because he literally is in a room with 2 exits, and she doesn't even go in there to finish killing him. She shot him once and she doesn't even go in there to finish killing him. It is, why would she shoot him and not confirm the kill? Like, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. There's one here I got from the Discord, which is, how did the renegades get into the observatory at the end of the game without succumbing to the chemical poisoning? I feel like it's a very good question, because you have the same enhancements as them, but you are not immune to the chemical poisoning that surrounds the observatory. You have to take a special medicine crafted by a character to get through it, and it only lasts like 30 seconds. So how did they get through? How did they get through to the observatory without succumbing to the chemical poisoning? We don't know. That's not explained to us. I guess they can just go through. Here's one that I had. How are there not one, but two working vans at the end of the game, even though during the course of the game we have not seen a single working vehicle? How did they get these vans to run, even though there is no fuel, there's nothing like that? How are these vans drivable? It doesn't make any sense, because one of the upgrades that you get if you side with the peacekeepers is that there's car bombs lit through the city. So if they can get vehicles working somehow, they didn't go into any details, but the renegades have a vehicle. They've actually got two. They've got two vehicles. They've got like one APC and another like RV that's armored up. And it's like, how do you have these vehicles? It makes no sense. If you can get these vehicles running, then why are there not more vehicles? Why are people not driving around in cars? Why are there not more use of like a motor? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Why are there two vans at the end of the game, but we use cars as bombs instead of actually driving them to places where it's much safer? It's just stupid. Here's another one. So at the end of the game, basically the Waltz activates the power to start saving Mia's life. You don't find this out until the very end of the game, but missiles basically start attacking the city and blowing it up. And like, there's a part of the map because of that that's just permanently covered in ash, and you cannot see in it, and it constantly acts as if it's nighttime in there. It sucks, it's ugly, and they should not have done this, because even if you finish the game, it does not go away. So you're permanently stuck with this giant cloud of ash in the middle of the map. It is terrible. I don't know why they've done it, and it's just stupid. But these missiles are going off one at a time. So if the military, not Waltz, the military has set up this protocol to destroy the city of Villador, that's old Villador and new Villador, if they've set this up to destroy both of these areas, why don't the missiles just all go off at once? Why have they got to go off in sequence? It doesn't make any sense. And these aren't even set up at strategic points. They're just set up that one missile destroys one building. There are a lot of buildings in New Villador, so how on earth is the military got these missiles that aren't even nuclear? Why are they trying to blow up the city without nuclear missiles as a way to cleanse it? It doesn't make any sense. And if you are going to destroy the city with a bunch of missiles, why would they not all detonate at once? It doesn't make any sense. Why fire off one missile, then another, then another, then another? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's another one. Here's another one. Why do the renegades follow Waltz? He's already made them powerful, so I don't understand why they follow him. Like, he's not a particularly good leader. He seems to have his only plan is just be, heal his sick daughter, but it's like, why do the renegades care about that? Just because he made them slightly stronger with a bad serum? It doesn't make any sense. Like, the renegades, they basically are the war boys from Mad Max. They're just the war boys from Mad Max. Like, they even sound the exact same. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what do these people have to gain from working with Waltz? Nothing. Like, their enhancements don't do anything. Like, they're not even that strong. They're just normal people who have been infected with a serum that doesn't help them. They don't transform into monsters as they please. They don't have volatile super strength. It doesn't do anything. So what does this serum actually do? Because they're not any stronger than the people in Haran. They're not any stronger than the Haran bandits or whatever. They're as equally strong. So the serum does not affect strength. It does not affect life or anything like that. It seems to just make them worse off because they can't even survive without UV at that point. Doesn't make any sense. Another one. I've got only a few more left. Is that why doesn't Aitor say anything about zombie Aiden? So Aitor is basically the leader of the peacekeepers in the starting area. He's like he leads that area's detachment of the peacekeepers, and basically he gets knocked out, and then you transform into zombie Aiden, and Aiden can transform into the zombie form to and fro. I'm guessing this is because of the prior experimentation on him by Waltz. But there's a section where Aitor wakes up and you're trying to say, hey man, wake up, in your zombie form, and he looks at you, and obviously you'd still be wearing the same gear as you were 5 minutes ago, and so he looks at you and he screams and he's like, get away from me. But Aitor doesn't say anything about the fact that Aiden had basically already turned to anyone. He's just completely fine with someone who has basically become a volatile, just walking around. Why doesn't he say anything? It doesn't make any sense. And then the one final one that I've got is, why do we see the Butcher once and we never see him again? This is the Colonel now. Why are we supposed to be so scared of this guy who's the leader of the renegades who capture survivors and torture them and kill them and rob them, and he's supposed to be this fucked up guy, but literally all he is, he's just a normal dude. He's just another faction of survivors who are they're literally the same as the peacekeepers, but the colour red. It doesn't make any sense. Why can't we side with the renegades? They don't seem that bad. The only bad part of the renegades is the fact that they work with Waltz, and even then, it's he basically said to Waltz, work with me, power up my men with your serum, and this doesn't work out because why would Waltz need the Colonel when he's the one who can, he's a leader himself? What does Waltz get out of working with the Colonel? Why doesn't he just kill him or perform a coup? It doesn't make any sense because we're led to believe that the Colonel is the leader of the renegades, and Waltz is his right hand man who does experiments, and he's a scientist. But it doesn't make any sense because if Waltz can just create an army of loyal followers and promise them power, why would they work for the Colonel? I don't understand it. None of this makes any sense. Anyway, oh my god, I've been going for 38 minutes. Those are my problems with the game. And a lot of people are saying that this game, don't worry, it'll be fixed. The problems I have with this game, I haven't mentioned bugs a single time during this rant. I haven't mentioned bugs once, and yet people still say it's all the bugs will be fixed, the game will be great. The game will still be shit, even if every bug is fixed and the combat and everything work without any glitches, because they have tons of fucking glitches. Absolutely fucking tons of them. And there's a bug that affects cutscenes where the NPCs aren't even in the places they're supposed to be. If you watch the video I posted of where I fight Hakan, I think it's called Tense Fight. I'll probably link it in the description. I'll probably forget though. And it's this is literally taking me out of the story. Well, how did a bug like this get past the testing, man? Oh, this game sucked, man. Dying Light 2 sucks. It's a basic. I can tell that this has killed the franchise, man. We will not get a Dying Light 3 now. They fucked it, man. I'm gonna go now. I've been going for 40 minutes. See it.